Today is the 2nd of September 2009. We are at the New York State Military Museum in Saratoga Springs, New York. My name is Wayne Clarke. Sir, for the record, would you please state your full name and your date and place of birth, please?
My full name is Armond Brown. I was born in Northumberland, New York on May the 8th, 1925. It's upstate from Schuylerville.
Okay. Did you attend school there?
I attended school in Northumberland, right on the Hudson Riverbank.
Mm-hmm.
And I completed up to the 5th grade, and then we were sent to Schuylerville School for the 6th grade with Mrs. Northrop.
Okay. And did you complete high school?
I left for service in the 3rd year high.
Okay.
I think that was about 1943.
Now, did you enlist or were you drafted?
I was not able to get in. They would not draft me because I was a defense worker at that time to American Locomotive, building Army tanks and diesel. And I was considered, I was still in high school when I was doing this.
Okay.
And I became dissatisfied, and I went to draft board 364, which is in Corinth, New York. And I told the girl there that I wanted to leave for service, that I had 2 older brothers in, and I had 2 younger brothers, and I didn't want them to get in before me. So I shed a few tears, and she said to me, "Could you sign my name?" Well, being an artist, I said, "Put your name down on paper," and I signed it. Just good. Take this to New York, sign here, and join the Merchant Marines. 7 of us went down, and I left that day. And I was on a ship that day called the USMS American Navigator. And I was on that ship, I don't know, for a couple of years.
And what was your job aboard ship?
I was a snipe, which means engine department. And I was very proud to go up along Long Island Sound until I knew how many ships had been sunk up there. I think we lost over 50,000 merchant marine. And we were going up to sell war bonds in Boston, of which we went up, and we did. And that's one hell of a liberty town. And we come back home, and then they decided, because the war was getting over about that time.
Now let me just ask you something. Did you go across the Atlantic at all, or the Pacific?
We run coastwise until we got, we went, I was just going to tell you, we left for the Pacific and we went through Panama. In fact, I went through Panama twice. We wound up over in Long Beach, California, and we used to run down to Tijuana and Ensenada. And then they deactivated our ship. And by that time, a guy by the name of Richard White and Nolan Brown, and they used to, when they see us together, they'd say, "Here comes the colored kids, brown and white." So anyhow, I remember that we had both received our junior engineer status through Herbert Bartel, Chief Herbert Bartel. And we slept topside on the starboard side of the ship, right off the crew's library. And in our room, we had our running water, we had sheets, of which I thought I was president. And that's about all. And then we brought the ship to the graveyard, the boneyard, whatever you want to call it. And the only 2 engine men on there was Richard White and Armond Brown, and we both had our stations.
Now the ship was being scrapped?
Pardon me? The ship was rather scrap that was in the boneyard. There was many, many ships right up in the state of Washington.
Okay. Now what, when you were traveling on the ship, were you on the same ship all the time?
Not until I come home. And before I could get home, my mother, I called her and she said, "You got to report to Camp Dix. You're going for another ride," of which was true.
Mm-hmm.
And we were the ones trained to go into Kamada, not knowing that they had an atomic bomb. And we went to go into, we were the ones going to invade.
Oh, okay, so you left the Merchant Marine and you were drafted into the Army?
Yeah, and when I was drafted into the Army, I spent most of my time down with the Snipes because I wanted to see what that looked like compared to what I had been through in Merchant Marines. And I got both discharges, one from the Maritime Service and one from the Merchant Marine.
Oh, okay, now when did you go into the Army?
In probably
Was it
1944 or 45,
okay?
in that area. 40, I would guess it would be closer to the early years of 45 because we trained very hard and very rough.
Okay, and you trained at Fort Dix?
Fort McClellan,
Okay.
Fort Dix first, Fort McClellan, and then we had special training on the way over.
So you
Go ahead.
you ended up going to the Pacific.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Again, I went through we thought we shipped out of New Jersey,
Mm-hmm.
and that's quite a story in itself. I won't go into that, but anyhow, we shipped out of New Jersey with the belief that we were going to Germany as part of a Peace Corps or something.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a little bit of reading there. But the next thing I knew, I looked out and I said, "Holy shit." I said, "This is far, we're going to the Pacific." Now I know why we were in the pits so long. I said to the guys, I've been here before, and this is Panama. Hello, Pacific. That's just what I told them. They thought I was kidding them, but I wasn't.
Okay. So you were heading for the Pacific. Whereabouts did you go first?
On a ship.
Did you go to Hawaii or
No,
no?
straight over. I think the reason being in case Truman didn't drop the bomb, of which we didn't know they had an atomic bomb.
Mm-hmm.
But if he hadn't dropped that, and we were close when they dropped it, from what I understood.
Okay.
And I think we got fallout, or they said it anyhow. Some of the officers were talking, and some of the guys picked it up. We ran out of food. We were in a lot of...
Where were you when they dropped the atomic bomb?
God, I don't know. We're in the ocean.
Okay. But you think you were exposed to some of the
Oh, definitely, because
radioactive
three of us volunteered to go into Hiroshima.
That was when the war ended.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we volunteered. There was a kid named Six, myself, and Six was from Georgia. I was from New York State, and Frank was his last name. Can't think of his first name, but he was from Ohio. I think he was from Ohio. And then we had two other guys that wanted to go with us, and they were from Smyrna and Gresley, from Indiana, I think they were from. But they didn't get to go.
Now what did they want you to do on Hiroshima?
We were supposed to, if we did going in, we were supposed to let supplies off. But I don't remember where or when. I took pictures. I don't remember where or when, what. Because we were poisoned after I got back from Kyoto University, shortly after. I went into one difficulty after another.
All right, do you want to tell us about that, how you were poisoned, or?
Well, you know, I would say that well, I had brought guys all day long from, at that time, 90th Chemical Mortar Battalion. It was 82nd in the beginning. I brought fellas, they asked me to drive because I was pretty healthy and I got all of the good jobs in that outfit. I was very well liked by the men and I was very well liked by the officers. And I was theater manager. I was a librarian. I was teach 4.2 mortar. I would teach just about anything they had. And then when they decided to send me to Kyoto University, that put the frosting on the cake. I didn't think I'd make it, and that's one reason.
So the Army sent you there
Oh,
to
yeah.
school?
Yeah, my officer sent me there.
What did they send you there to learn?
INE, Information and Education, and I studied the Zabatsu system. Now, the Zabatsu system was 5 wealthy landowners in Japan. The 5 they owned the property. The average person didn't own property, but the landowners did. And the Zabatsu system would probably be compared to General Motors, Ford, and something like that. And when I come back, I began teaching the troops, and that's when they poisoned us, and I brought guys all day long to the hospital.
Now,
Down to 42nd Annex Hospital in Yokohama.
okay, so your unit was based in Japan after the war. You were doing occupation duty?
Occupation duty in Japan, guard duty, guarding the treat at what they call the treat area, down where Quonset huts along the ocean. And I was I was always a squad leader. I don't know why, but they always picked me. I was one of the first ones made sergeant, and they always told me that I was going to get a tech sergeant, whatever would be. And it was just that it was so much going. Anything that they needed. I was the, what would you call the shotgun, the guy that rode shotgun when we went and got money. I always set up on the back with Lieutenant Ogart and Major Canoyer down in the Jeep, and I'm setting up in the air where they can shoot you. No, I used to think of that. It's funny, but I used to think of it.
Now, you mentioned about being poisoned. Was it food poisoning or
I don't know, but let me bring you up to the last one that I brought to the hospital was the doctor, a lieutenant. I can't think of his name. And he said, Brownie, I'm the last one. And he went to get in the back, and I said, no, there's no other guys. You're the last one. You get in the front with me. So he did climb in the front. And it's about a trip from, Saratoga, New York to Albany, I would guess. Just about that distance. And he got in the front with me. And I'd been there all day long, and it was raining. It had been raining about 20. Aside, went around the back. I should have gone around the front the short way. Went around the back, opened the door, and put him on my shoulders, and took about 2 steps. And the next thing I heard was a Red Cross nurse said, "Soldier, I want your mother's address." And I pondered. I didn't know where I was really. And I'd been unconscious for about 8 days, is what she told me later on. She says, "I want your mother." She says, "I know you got a sister named Almina." And I said to myself, how in hell did she know I got a sister Almina? And I was very sick. I can remember that. And she said, when we found you, I grabbed my dog tags, and I said, you could have found all this information out right through. And I said, where are my dog tags? She says, when we found you, all you had on was GI shorts. You and what you say, the lieutenant. And she looked over at the bed, and I looked over at the bed opposite me, and there was a body in it with just a sheet pulled over. So I figured, Jesus, he died. I thought that anyhow.
Uh-huh.
So I said, what happened to the lieutenant? She said, don't worry about the lieutenant. She says, I want to know your mother's address. So I don't know if I give it to her, I seem to fade away or what. But again, the next thing I know, she's tugging on me. But what she told me she had been doing, I would dream. And when I would dream, she would question me. How many brothers you got? How many are in service? Give me your mother's address. And she'd go back. And she said, you would never, you told me about your brothers, you agreed that you had a sister named Almina, but you never would tell your mother's address. Well, we were told not to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe that's why. But anyhow, she finally got what she wanted, and I found out that through not her, but through a nurse that come to take care of me, I said, what in the hell is wrong with me? What happened? And she said, well, the doctors thought you had, you get this disease if you're on a farm, not diphtheria, but a high fever disease. And I said, well, is that what we got? She said, no, the nurse told me this. I believe that every one of you were poisoned. So I never forgot that, never. Mm-hmm. And she said that if anybody, I said, well, what did you just give me to make me better than that? And she stopped me right there. She didn't let me ever say the lieutenant. So I was never sure if that was him, but I'd love to know if that lieutenant died or lived.
Mm-hmm.
And
do you remember his name?
No. But I've seen him before. Whenever they'd get in trouble, I can remember Gurney Seegers. One night, I'm laying in my sack, and I heard a commotion in the next compartment. And they said, we'll get Brownie. That's what all of them used to do, if they were on guard or anything. And they called me Brownie, so I went over, and I said, what's wrong? Gurney is dying. He was half in his bed, and his shoulders was on the floor. And he said, Brownie, don't touch me. I want you to write a letter to my mother. And I said, hey, you know what time it is? Who the hell do you think you are? To pick a time when you're going to die? Get in that bed. So I picked him up and shoved him in the bed. Just his shoulders, was on it. And I give him confidence. And that's what I did one time when we caught a kid with white phosphorus in his ear from a 4.2 mortar that shot too high. Did the same thing to him. It took 3 of us to hold him. But that was life, and my mother was a midwife, and we seen things happen as kids. Mm-hmm. And that's why they told my 2 brothers, I never told my outfit, or my Army outfit, that my mother was a midwife, because I didn't want to be connected with the medical department. I seen enough of that as a kid. I didn't mean to ramble on.
No, that's all right.
But anyhow, I've had one hell of a ride in life. Mm-hmm. God has been good to me. I'm still here, and a lot of the guys that I was with, I think due to that poison, I know we had a bunch of them in the bow and the boatswain's locker when I come home.
Now, do you think being exposed to radiation might have caused that sickness or poisoning?
It didn't. It could have enhanced it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it might have enhanced it. But I've had tumors moved from both legs. I picked up a skull out of the dual wheels of a 6x. Uh-huh. I reached in and pulled that out. That's a long story too. And wiped it across both legs, and that's the legs where the tumors were. Mm-hmm. I wiped it. I had fatigues. Maybe the fatigues had holes. I don't know. But when I come home, Dr. Doobie took my first tumors, and he didn't tell me if they were cancerous or not. And that was in about 1947 or 8. Mm-hmm. that he removed them from both the left side of my left leg, and that's the way I wiped my hands, to the left side of my right leg, the same height.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a kid that was very soft, you know, very stinky soft.
Okay.
Yeah, that happened to me.
All right. And when were you eventually discharged?
Well, I was come from the hospital, and they want Lieutenant Ogar and Captain Jones, not Major Kennard. They come to the hospital and asked me if I could re-enlist. They were going to make me first sergeant.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I've been away from home 4 Christmases. You can make me a general. I'm going home. I'm not going to Korea. Lieutenant Ogar said to me, Brownie, I want you to go with me. You're my top man. And I was. You know, everything that he wanted, I did. And also Captain Jones, Major Kennards. Captain Jones didn't buddy around with us, but Lieutenant Ogar and Major Kennard and I used to go out now and then.
Mm-hmm. Now, whereabouts were you discharged from?
I was discharged. I wondered if I was discharged in Japan. I really either right there because they wanted me to re-enlist. And they knew I had just come from the hospital, and I felt very, very sick yet from being in that hospital.
Well, most likely they discharged you once you got to the States. I mean, how did
well,
you get...
Well, they wanted me to stay and get further treatment and then go to Korea.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I want to leave with my outfit. I've been with my outfit all along, and what's left to us, I want to go. Mm-hmm. But there was no more outfit. Uh-huh. I didn't know that then, but I realized it later. Because I asked some guys on a ship, what the hell happened to the 82nd? What happened to the 90th? And it's always been a mystery to me. Mm-hmm. Always. And I wondered, they wanted me to stay in the hospital so that I would get a pension if I stayed, because I had quite a few things wrong with me, and by that time.
Yeah.
And they said, if you leave, you're not going to get a pension. And I said, I don't want no pension. I want to get home. As a young fellow, you don't see the future, and I wanted to get home. I said, I want to leave as soon as I can, because I knew that if Lieutenant Ogar was shipped like they said he would be, he would come back and talk me into it. Am I glad I didn't never see him after the last time he come? He said, Brownie, think it over. That's a real raise. I said, look, you were going to give me a raise several different times. But I said, it never happened. He said, we never had time. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But I'm very happy I got home.
Okay, once you got home, back to the States, how did you get back to Saratoga?
From, we were in San Francisco. Well, this is when I was in the Merchant Marine. No, they sent me home from the Army by bus. The Army, in fact, there was a bunch of shot guys, and I got the good duty all over again of being the one on the bus to organize the group. Okay. I was always in charge of the group, no matter where. I always thought it was because of, and I never showed anybody that I was working for home security constantly. Mm-hmm. I don't remember showing that to anybody. Okay.
Now, when you were discharged, did you join any veterans organizations at all?
Oh yeah, I'm a lifetime member of VFW. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get the books every month. Yeah, and I wanted to be a family man because I had such a wonderful life. I married an angel. I really did. And I was as close to that family as you could get. My father taught every one of his, he was a First World War veteran. He also went down, as I told you earlier today, he went down to fight Pancho Villa in 1916.
Now, what was your father's name?
Ernest J. Brown.
Okay.
And his mother died when he was 9 years old, and he stayed in Vermont in Glass Factory Mountain and skidded logs at 9. And he was a self-taught person. He learned to read by himself. I can't understand how a person could do that, but he did it. Rather, some of the guys in the logging camps, but he could read. He read Robinson Crusoe when we were kids. He read various stories to us. He read the newspaper every night. He was a self-taught man. Very good father. He taught every one of his sons to be an expert with a rifle. Every one. Look at what I got. I was out of 200 shots 196 times. Bullseyes. I was an expert, not a sharpshooter. You know. And that's why I think they wanted to take me to Korea.
Did you stay in contact with anyone you were in the service with?
I would like to contact somehow. I'd give them a lot of money to contact Whitey. Richard White from Boston. I think that when he left my house, I think he probably went and caught a ship. Because him and my brother were getting rowdy. My mother wanted my brother to settle down, my oldest brother. He was in the 5th Air Corps in New Guinea, I think I told you that. And she wanted him to settle down, and Whitey was not much of a help. You know, they'd go out in the bars. That's what they did best.
Okay.
I didn't go for that as much as they did because I had a couple of girlfriends and I wanted to settle down after I got out of college.
Okay, I was going to ask you that. Did you make use of the GI Bill?
Oh yes, yeah, I certainly did. I made use of the GI Bill and went down to Hudson Valley. Yeah. And my granddaughter went to Hudson Valley, maybe 2 of them. And I told them they could have got a discount. Well, I forget how many was in our class that started in Hudson Valley. It was a big, big class. I know that. And only 13 of us graduated. And I graduated top 3. I was 3rd. There was Cassandra? No. Bill? God, I can't think of their names, but I feel bad that I can't because I thought I'd never forget those 2 guys. I can see them. One of them is a paper mill expert, and he was running a paper mill, and I was a paper mill designer at the time. I worked for Trimby as a design engineer. I worked for Broughton's as a design engineer, and I worked for GE as a design engineer. And Bill Fountain, his father run the gas station. I think he was tops. That's one of the 2. Bill Fountain. Don Nolan was the other one. Thank God. So anyhow, Don Nolan run the paper mill. Bill Fountain's mother and father got killed together. They lived on the road from Albany to Schenectady. They owned a gas station. And I haven't heard from them. I used to go visit Don Nolan and that. And when I was going to college, they'd come to see me. And I was tending bar at a place in Fort Edward, New York, Everett's Rest. And we had quite an evening that evening. But anyhow, I've had one great ride in life.
Have you attended any kind of reunions or anything?
Oh yeah, class reunions, yeah, from school. I don't much now. I missed a couple. Bugle and Drum Corps. I was in the Bugle and Drum Corps, is the Green Sabres. And I was invited just about a month ago to a reenactment or something that they were having, and I couldn't go because I've been in the hospital constantly with my lungs because of asbestos. I've been in the hospital because of so many This is an operation right here I just had within the last couple of weeks. In fact, I got to go back. I'm trying to think of the doctor's name in Glens Falls. He operated when I worked for Albany International or Broughton or Trimby. I come from Trimby. I was bought like a slave from Trimby to Broughton. Then I was bought like a slave from Broughton to AIC, Albany International. And when I say I got a raise anyhow every time I was bought.
Mm-hmm.
But I went with the company.
Okay. How do you think your time in the service changed or affected your life?
It made me a better person.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'd rather not get into that.
Okay. The service you felt made you a better person. And I meant to ask you, when you were in the service, did you get to see any USO shows or anything like that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I forget where we were. I saw, oh, all right, that's when I was in a maritime service. I saw Bob Hope in a theater,
mm-hmm.
and we were asked to go through some church organization, the Methodist Church, I think it was, asked us to go. I spent a lot of time at that Methodist church because I used to be able to go up there and play ping pong or talk
mm-hmm.
with the young ladies or dance. They do certain things, and that was in Baltimore, Maryland. Then in the Army, I wasn't around. Well, yeah, I guess we did go to oh, that was Merchant Marine too. We went to Earl Carroll's, and we went to the Stage-Yard Canteen. They set up for our ship to have a dinner
mm-hmm.
at these places, and lo and behold, we had a kid with us by the name of Lennon, a little redhead, and the Rockettes were performing out there at that time, and one of the girls was his girlfriend, and she come over with a couple other girls at the table. That made our day.
Uh-huh. Now, let me go back just for a moment to the Merchant Marine. Now, did you carry any troops over to Europe at all, or supplies over to Europe?
No, we had, occasionally we had people on the ship. I don't know if they were to man the guns or I never went to any of the classes that they may or may not have had. I don't know.
Okay.
I was busy in the engine room, 8 on and 8 off. I hemorrhaged twice on that ship. I'm a bleeder, and I almost bled to death a couple of times.
Oh.
I hemorrhaged again in Presidio. They have a big hospital. They sent me from the 42nd Annex Hospital to deliver a couple of men to a jail. And I had delivered them, and then they sent me to be double checked in the hospital in Presidio.
Mm-hmm.
That would be across the Pacific.
Uh-huh.
So next thing I know, I'm aboard ship. I'm going home. And I asked too many questions. I'm not going to say here. But I can remember that when we got there, we were supposed to report, or me and a few others were supposed to report immediately to the hospital under Golden Gate Bridge. Did I mention it before, the name of the hospital?
No, you just said city.
Presidio. I'm trying to think of it, but they'll all know it's right under Golden Gate Bridge, and it's one of the nicest hospitals I was ever in. But they did a no-no there, and I don't think I shut that off, and I'll tell you what they did.
All right, you eventually,
In that hospital, they operated on me, and that's all that I'm going to say. They operated, and they said they had a manila envelope that they had to do this operation. So I let them in, and again, I almost bled to death. So we'll leave that chapter out.
okay. Now, eventually when you got out of the service, you went back to school, you got married.
Yeah, I went to school. I was engaged. I think I got engaged while I was in college. Yeah, and then I prayed. I had a couple of girlfriends, and I prayed for the girl that would be the best to my kids, and I sure got an angel. And I miss her 47 years of nothing but love and affection. And my wife could sing, play piano, very artistic, in many ways artistic. She was good with carpentry. She made some little, like a little horse and a donkey. She built a square box for instance, put 4 legs on it, like think of a little matchbox. Put a tail on the middle of it, put a head on the other end in the middle, and they looked beautiful. She'd do it with different colored woods. Then she was very good in ceramics, and in painting she was very good. So, and better than anything, one of the best chefs I ever met in my life. You've seen that in the kitchen.
How many children do you have?
I had 3 daughters, all of them wonderful girls. They think they're my mother. And I have 2 sons. And I think at times they think they're my father. So I haven't lost my mother and father.
Now, how many grandchildren do you have?
Oh, God. I have great-grandchildren.
Okay.
I'd have to begin counting them on my fingers. I'd say minimum 16. Okay?
Okay. Is there anything that you want to talk about that we might have missed during the interview?
If there is, I'll tell you later.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for your interview.
Oh, thank you for doing it. I appreciate it very much.
Well, we appreciate you coming in. Thank you.